Barbra Streisand. Yentl is a 15-year struggle, is that right? Is that when you first got interested in the story?
Yeah. I read it in 1968, and I just fell in love with it instantly. It had been sent to my agent, who turned it down because I had just done Funny Girl, and he thought, well, I shouldn't do 2 ethnic pieces, play 2 Jewish girls in a row. So I never even knew about it, but the producer, Valentine Sherry at the time, who's since died, sent me the short story to my house. And I just read it one day because it was only 20 pages long.
And you sought out Isaac Bashevis Singer, the man who wrote it? And,
Well, at that time, as a matter of fact, we did hire him to write the first script. It was about a 200-page script, and it was like a long, short story, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't quite cinematic enough.
Well, it seemed to me that when you, jumping way forward, when you see the finished film, it seems to me to be a very personal film for you and by you, in 2 ways. It's talking about heritage, it's talking about being Jewish, but it's also talking very much about being a woman and doing everything you want to do. I mean, that a woman has a possibility of doing what she sets out to do. And I would assume that those were the 2 main impulses for you to be in love with that story, I would have thought.
It was, it started out as a poem to my father, actually. And I think it's very much a love story. I mean, it's a story about the love between parent and child, the love of learning, the love between men and women, the love between 2 men, 2 women, friends. So it's about a lot of things.
But there's also, there was a lot of, I guess, must have been a lot of resistance to your doing it, was it? Was it easy to get launched? It wasn't easy to get launched, was it? It was a terrible struggle, my impression.
Yeah. Well, remember, 15 years ago, there hadn't been a movie, except for maybe Sylvia Scarlett in 1936 with Katharine Hepburn, made where a woman dressed as a man. So already the whole sexual thing, or an actress playing in a disguise, you know, was odd. It wasn't a musical at the time, either. But I wasn't going to direct it or produce it or write or anything. I was just going to be an actress. And Ivan Pasa was the director. I had seen a little film that he made called, I think it's called Me Lightning or I Lightning. 78-minute film, I remember. Very talented, wonderful Czech film. They were going to film this picture in Yugoslavia. And a script was written then by Jerome Cass. Very interesting script. But Ivan thought I was too old at the time. I was 25. He thought I was too old and too famous. But the producer wanted me, so it was like I was being shoved down his throat. And I felt terrible about it, because I thought I could play the part. And he backed out of the project to do another movie, I think, called Born to Lose. He asked me if he could leave. And I said, you know, well, if you'd rather be somewhere else.
It does seem like years ago, doesn't it? I mean, Born to Lose was a long time ago.
George Segal and Karen
yes.
Black.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, Yentl was shelved. It was. But for years and years, I would just dream about Yentl. I would meet people, tell them about it. As a matter of fact, I met Pauline Kael in 1969 and Joe Morgenstern, because he lived in my building, Joe Morgenstern. And I told him about this story called Yentl, and I remember Pauline saying, you should make that movie. This was after Hello, Dolly, which I didn't particularly enjoy doing. It's funny now, you know, 15 years later, to actually have it on the screen. I love the feeling now when people call me up or write me letters about Yentl, and I'm in my bathtub, you know. I'm lying in my bed reading a letter. I mean, it's such a wonderful feeling now. I never thought I'd get to this place where it was actually made and showing in theaters all around the country.
And I would assume that you're getting a lot of response from it. I mean, I think that a lot of the reviews have to have been warming. Not all of them, maybe. But
what touches me is a story, let's say, that somebody told me the other day, that this father was feeling kind of estranged from his daughter. They lacked communication. He could never understand her career capacities or career motivations or whatever. And they went to see the movie together. And at the end of the film, he sat in the chair and he couldn't move. And my friend told me that he was sobbing, you know, and he said to his daughter, I now understand you.
Wow.
And it opened up a whole line of communication for them.
That's terrific.
That touches
that
me.
really
Yeah.
is, yeah, that's terrifically touching. Well, you did so much on this film. Finally, the script was co-authored by you and Jack Rosenthal. Yeah, and obviously you directed and you starred and sang and produced. What of it challenged you the most, or what maybe is most satisfying when you get
I just
all
want to
through?
say one thing. I
Yeah.
did not do that intentionally. In other
Yeah.
words, I started out as an actress.
Right.
You know, then I
It
bought
sounds like people just kept falling away somehow. Yeah.
it fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
Then I bought it from my own company in 1973, I think. Still couldn't get it made when I was with First Artists. But I didn't intend to write or produce or even direct, of course. But in 1979, I decided to direct it, but I wasn't going to write or produce. And it just so happened, you know, I wrote my first film outline of Yentl in 1979, when I really took my, you know, bit the bullet and decided, with all the terror that I felt, I was approaching 40, and I just decided that life is short and one must take risks and chances and risk failure, because there's a lesson in that too, and put some real meaning into my life again, real motivation. It was also it's very exciting. The struggle is very exciting, even though it's difficult. It's warming. It just gives you a goal, a purpose to every day, you know. I felt like I was 18 again, knocking on doors for a couple of days saying, you know, I'm going to be an actress, you know, and it was a wonderful feeling. It was very humbling, you know, trying to get something on. It was like I was not treated as if I were a famous person or a bankable star at all. I was looked at like, well, what is this project and who's going to go see it, and you're going to direct it, and, you know, you're a woman, and, you know, so.
Isn't there a moment when that first day somehow, I've heard other people say it,
Yeah.
you're beside the camera and there are all these people standing around and saying, okay, lady, now what do we do? I mean, is there sort of a moment like that that feels just like a cold knot in your stomach?
That was actually a moment that I relaxed, because the 9 months of pre-production just in Europe, I mean, I've been working on Yentl every day for the last almost 5 years. In March, when it opens in Europe, it will be 5 years. So the pre-production, you know, never thinking I had enough time, never thinking I was prepared enough, never knowing enough about Polish life, about the shtetls, about the Talmud, about human relationships, you know, always feeling I never knew enough. That was the most frightening. But I had a wonderful cast and crew, very supportive, and I elicited their help, you know. I mean, I said, I need all of you. I need you to be part of this dream with me. Yeah. I only wanted people working on the movie who liked the movie, who liked the script. So in Europe, I don't know how it would be working here, but they were very supportive. I never felt like they were looking at me like, you know, you're a woman or a star, or I just didn't feel that way. Maybe because from that first day, I said, look, are you frightened? I'm frightened too. And this is embarrassing for me to now stage these numbers and sing for the first time in front of you. And I just told them my feelings, you know, and they responded.
I just don't know how, and particularly watching the film, I felt this. I don't know how you avoided absolutely being physically exhausted, because I know that the director is working half the night after the cameras have shut down. And
it's the willpower.
I guess
you know,
it is.
You cannot be sick. You cannot get tired. You can't.
Yes.
So you don't.
Because the meter is ticking
you don't.
at a very
It just shows you
loud rate,
the strength of the human spirit, you know? I mean, it just cannot be deflated when it can't be deflated, you know?
Well, you had picked a terrific cinematographer, and the picture has a look. You obviously had to spend a lot of time, I would guess,
David Watkin.
discussing that terrific gold.
We had made my co-producer and I, Rusty Lemrond, we would go to Czechoslovakia we met many times for that period of 2 or 3 years pre-production. And I always dressed as Yentl. I put on a costume and took my Super 8 camera. And I would practice directing, you know. I mean, just do shots here, natural light. The film was so beautiful, the Super 8, that's what I would show to cinematographers that I would talk to. And try to capture this feeling of natural light. Because it was a realistic fairy tale. And we had to find places that were real, but that looked like a fairy tale, like the second city we're in, called Beshev. It might look like it's something out of an illustrated book. The buildings are pink and yellow and green, but this is reality. We did not paint them. They're there from the turn of the century. You know, these buildings were built in the late 1800s with Art Nouveau doors. You know, I love the Art Nouveau period and the incongruity of this magnificent period of architecture in a Polish shtetl. When you read a book like Polish Jews, you see these wonderful black and white pictures of women by a stucco stove, but behind them is a piece of Art Nouveau wallpaper. You know, where did they get it? An Art Nouveau piece of embroidery on a chair. And so I was able to try to combine these elements, you know. But it was not meant to be a documentary on the shtetl, although everything in the film is authentic. Everything was researched. Everything was checked through the YIVO Institute of Research. Because some of the criticism we got was that it looked like Out of House and Garden, somebody said. But A, it's a fable. I mean, it has music.
So that's allowable, but...
It's allowable. But also, it's all real. You see, there were very wealthy Jews, like Hadassah's family.
Yes.
Every piece of silver could have been in one of those homes. Even the things we use, like the artwork on the walls, was things that we found from... what did women do at the period? You know, women would make paper cutouts that looked like lace. Fabulous. So we found them, and those were on the walls. You know, very authentic things, because I'm interested in design, I'm interested in architecture, and all the years of, you know, decorating houses, and it just paid off, you know, being a director.
Had you seen Mandy Patinkin in
Evita.
In Evita?
I saw him in Evita, yeah. And then in Ragtime.
Yes, Ragtime was the name I was searching for.
Yeah,
yes.
And he's very alive, very passionate, you know, actor, and that's what I felt this quality of Avigdor needed, you know, somebody who was...
Right. What about Amy Irving, who I think does a nifty job in the film? So.
She's wonderful. Yeah, she's to me the epitome of what all men would like in a woman. You know, from her beautiful green eyes to gorgeous hair and her sweet, you know, lovely personality.
The film is a lot about the change in her, I think, isn't it? That dawning
It's about her growth.
Revelation. Yeah.
She, to me, was the new woman, you know, that's left in the old world. I mean, Yentl goes to America. She stays as the seed of the new woman, let's say, in Europe, because one realizes that you can, as a woman, be everything, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to not have a career to be a feminine woman. You can nurture and nest and take care of your family and also have a mind and have thoughts and have opinions.
What sort of a feeling did you get, Barbara, from being over there as to whether women really had to come to this country, as you do in the film, to find yourself and be able to find free expression? Do you find that the status of women that you met in
Well, after all,
Poland?
in England, you know, Margaret Thatcher's the Prime Minister, so they're more ahead than we are, in a way.
Yeah.
I did not find that I was discriminated against in Europe. Even in Czechoslovakia, where we filmed, the government was wonderful, very supportive, and they seem to have a respect for talent, whether it's male or female, it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, they were very respectful towards me, and... It seemed to me that you made a choice as far as the music was concerned. There's no kind of searching for an ersatz period sound, I didn't think, in the music, the songs themselves. I mean, there are sort of timeless Yes.
ballad in form, and I think you've probably been criticized a little bit in some of the reviews for the music, but it did seem to me like it was an absolute choice, maybe
an absolute
confirming
choice.
the fairy tale quality of the film.
Yeah, we did, it's a stream of consciousness dialogue in song. And the music we intended to be timeless and to be romantic. It was not meant to be ethnic. Only the real source music at the wedding or whatever, that was authentic.
The dream sequences.
You know, they were, that's ethnic music.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it wasn't meant to be a Jewish movie, a Jewish musical. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even as much as Fiddler on the Roof, which used more ethnic themes. Yeah, because this was a story about sexual identity and role-playing and pursuing a dream.
With a certain number of tightropes to get across, and one of the things that interested me was the delicacy with which, you know, the wedding night, all that sort of stuff was a bit tricky in the writing, I should think. And
Those were the hardest moments, you know.
Yeah, I would assume
Why
so.
would she marry this girl? So we invented this idea that he was going to leave, you know, and just to keep him. Again, as the womanly feminine instinct, you know, even over the mind, the passion even outrules the mind and logic, you know.
Interesting. Well, now it's done, as you say. Now you can take phone calls about it while you're
Taking a
lolling
bath.
in the bath and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it must open up so many almost confusing avenues for you, it seems to me. I mean, you go on as an actress, you go on as a singer, you go on as a director, producer,
I always thought it was a
writer.
wonderful thing to... I always had opinions. I mean, in my first day on the set with Willie Wyler, I had opinions, you know.
It's
and-
now legendary, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but I loved him and he loved me, I think.
Yes.
you
Oh,
know.
absolutely
I mean, we
right.
had this
Absolutely
wonderfully respectful, exciting exchange of ideas, you know. So at the end of filming, he gave me a director's megaphone, you know, with the Directors Guild emblem on it. And, but I've always had opinions. I've always visualized pieces in my mind, you know. I see how I'd like them to look,
Yeah.
and I love visualization of feelings and ideas. And I always had opinions. Directing is a wonderful job for that. It's for, because if you're just an actress and you have opinions, people look at you funny. But as a director, you better have opinions.
Yes.
You better have ideas. So it's the perfect place, you know.
Well, I'd heard that you might want to do something for television, do some classics somehow.
Yeah, I don't, probably not direct most of them. But ever since I was 14, I've always wanted to play Romeo and Juliet. And I did a scene from it at the Actors Studio a few years ago. It was one of the highlights of my own personal career. Nobody much saw it. But I'd really like to do some of the plays by Shaw and Ibsen and Chekhov and Shakespeare. So.
Terrific. You're also interested in women's studies, I think. I mean, your own and the way women are taught about women, I guess.
Yeah.
Plans in that area to do something?
Well, I've gone back to school just a little bit, taking some classes at USC and UCLA. And it's just a wonderful thing, because as I've only been to a few classes so far, but the studies show that we are more alike than we're not alike. You know, and it's really cultural and environmental differences that make the difference.
Right.
I mean, I love the biological differences. I think we have to, you know,
Vive la
respect
différence,
those.
as
Yeah,
they say.
I love it. But when it comes down to really the mind and the spirit and the soul, we're quite equal, it seems to me.
And I think you've got to be developed, each of us in all our parts somehow.
Yeah, to be whole human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, men have suffered as well as women.
Yeah. Well, I think in this film you have really made a marvelous statement to that end, and I think that your father, who I think died when you were
15 months.
15 months old, I think he'd have been terribly proud of you.
I
And
hope so.
congratulate you, because I'm proud too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wow, that was really terrific.
Yeah?